Hi guys, I wanted to cover something that I found in the 269, the release candidate, something I wasn't aware of about the features. It's real simple. I'm going to go ahead and just jump in. I'm gonna unwrap my cube, Smart UV project. I'm going to give it a 0.03 range. Gives me a little bit of space around the faces. I'm going to add an image and I'm going to leave it untitled for right now. 1024. Hit OK. Now, what I want to do is actually go ahead and load up the material, load up that image as a texture, pick the one I just set, and set it to UV. Okay. Now, something that was added in that's kind of pretty cool is the ability to add two primitives in your masking. And by that I mean in the UV image editor. When you switch it to masking, you have the ability to add a circle or a square. And I think it's pretty cool. Let me show you how I use it sometimes, and this is just a simple example, so it's not really the best example, but it'll give you an idea of what's possible. You can extrapolate on it and use it in your own workspace. So I'm going to go to texture view, and I'm going to say decide on the face that I want to texture. Okay, we're going to texture just this square here. So with mask enabled, I'm going to select that, Shift S, cursor to selected, and I'll put my cursor right there. Deselect. I'm going to go to texture view so we can see all the rest of the UVs. And that's an interesting thing I found too, is that if I went to object mode right now, I would have lost my ability to see where my UVs lie. But by going from edit mode to texture mode, you're able to see where your UVs are, and you can actually, well, let me just go ahead and do it. Shift A. Since I said we've got a mask here, we're going to add a square first. And I'm going to scale that up until it gets to about the size of the face that I'm wanting to color. And we're going to call that mask. Well, down here, I'm going to call that square. And now I'm going to add another one, and we're going to Shift A, add a circle, and I'm going to scale that up a little bit, and we'll call this one circle. Apologize if it's too simple, but it's pretty straightforward so far. Okay, now before we get going too far, I'm going to go ahead and save my image. Image, save as image, and I'm going to put it on my desktop just so I can have something to write to, and call test black, just so I've got something to pull it in as. Okay, now I'm working here in the, I'm going to go to object mode now. I'm working here in the compositor, and even though my render layer and composite is still set together, I'm going to move those out of my way. I'm going to work mainly on this. I'm going to use the image. I'm going to uncheck use nodes for a second. Speed it up a little bit. Plug that into the viewer. I'm going to load the image that we already have. I'm going to set the backdrop. Shift A, I'm going to add color, mix node. And that mixes this image with a white image here. So now I want to put an input mask. And The mask I will set up as a, we'll go with a square first, and what I'll do is set this up to be the fixed size of 1024 by 1024, and plug this into my mix node. Now we have this white space. What I'm going to do is set this up as all red. So I'm going to zero out my green, zero out my blue. What that means now is I have a red component here. Okay, then what I'm going to do now is make a copy of this and make this all blue. Turn off my red, make that all blue, and I'm going to make a copy of this mask because it already has dimension set, but this time I'm going to change the circle, and I'm going to put that there. Funny. Oops. Like sometimes it happens. I plugged it into the wrong node. The mask goes into the factory input. So now I have a blue circle and I have a red square. Now I'm going to hit anti-alias on both these masks, and that way that there's a little bit of a, well, let me see, it's sort of okay, but we'll see. This is mainly for the effect. We may have to do some other stuff to it. Now what I would like to do is take that red area and apply an image to it. Take the blue area and apply an image to it. How do we do that? So this will work again. I'll make a copy of my mix node. I'm going to set it over here. Make a copy of my image node, and I'm going to load up something from my tileable stuff. Textures, stuff that I made. I'm going to make one as, okay, I'm going to make the one as the whole pattern. And I'm going to set that there. I'll set the image here. And it's pretty crazy. But now, what do I do here? Shift A, add a converter, separate RGBA. Sorry, you don't want it to be hooked to that. I'm going to put it up there. Put this back in here. Now, I'm going to use the red channel for that. And now you see it's chopped. Where it's on the red channel only is where we get that overlay. And now I want to use, I won't have to make another one of these, I'll just turn around and plug that in. But I'll make a copy of the mix node and a copy of this image. We'll go to another image in the same stack, something different. So maybe these bumps, we'll just use this one right here. And now I'm going to use the blue channel to drive that mix. And so now you see that we have these pieces put together from the mask, and if we look pretty closely, there's a little bit of a red and blue edge around that, and that's probably because of the way it's cutting it with the mask. So what I'd like to do is go back to my masks, and see, I'm going to feather that mask, and I'm going to feather this one. Let's see what happens. Looks like it's going the wrong way. Maybe I need to feather inward. So Alt S and feather in. Okay. Try the same thing with circle. And it works okay for the most part, but still got a little bit there. I could probably put a little bit of a blur on one of these and see what happens. Just put a soften filter maybe. No, that didn't help. Well, it might not be as powerful as being able to just place things in scale, but one of the things you can do is here at these images that you're inputting in, you can use distort like scale and go 0.8, 0.8, but then it moves it, so we need to bring it back down because it's the same size as our texture here. So then we need to hit a translate and come down on the Y, bring it back. Okay, and then we might do the same thing here, shift duplicate the scale, put it here, and it becomes 0.8, maybe a size 0.5 and 0.5. Oops. 0.5. Okay, and then I still need the same issue. Come down in the Y. Just to make sure I'm inside all of it. There. And what I had thought maybe this might be applicable for is making complex brushes when you need to overlay things here in Blender instead of trying to put them on different planes and render them together and then rendering them shadeless and trying to get them combined correctly. It might be easier a little bit with using the mask, especially if you're just masking out a portion. But the thing is, with this example, what I'm doing is now I've got all this set up and it's going to this view. It's only to the viewer, not to the output. So what we do is set our UV image editor to the viewer, and there I can say F3 and save it as test black 1 by increasing by 1 as an iteration. Then I can come to my texture here in the stack and tell it to go to the file of the 1 instead of just the 0. And now if I go into edit mode, go to test black 1, I make sure my UVs are placed on the image now, go through, and I think the reason I don't see it is because of this light, but there you go. You now have an interesting texture on only one face. This might be useful, I think, for putting decals on faster than if you're trying to set up a stencil brush. Maybe. If not, there's always other ways to do this. But what I'd like to see for an improvement is to be able to set your mask from the actual UVs by being in edit mode and being in mask mode and being able to select UVs and commit them to a mask. It would be so awesome to have that as a mask for texturing. I know it's not what they had in mind for what they built the masking for, but I think it would be awesome. Another thing would be cool would be to be able to even use the mask here that we've got set up as the place where we can paint, like to go into paint mode, and with the mask set maybe here in the toolbar, you can maybe say that you want to limit paint by mask such and such, and it would take in the data of where that mask sits here and allow you to just only paint there, similar to the way we can go to in texture paint, we can limit by selection here. But I hope you got something out of this, and I hope maybe you find some really cool, useful ways to use this information, or maybe it opens up your mind on how you can change things. That's for it for now. Thanks. Bye.